I don't believe in signs. I'm a scientist. I deal in facts, data, evidence. But what happened last month made me question everything I thought I knew about the natural world. It started on a Tuesday morning, on an empty stretch of highway in rural Montana, when I found a red-tailed hawk lying in the middle of the road. Dying. And it ended with something I still can't fully explain. I'm Dr. Elena Reyes. I'm 34 years old, a wildlife biologist working for the State Conservation Department. My job is to track animal populations, study migration patterns, and protect endangered species. I spend most of my time alone in the field, which is exactly how I like it. That morning, I was driving to a research site 2 hours north of my cabin, my truck loaded with equipment, my mind already running through the day's tasks. The road was empty. It always is out here. Just asphalt cutting through endless pine forest and open sky. That's when I saw it. A dark shape in the middle of the road, about 50 yards ahead. At first, I thought it was roadkill. Deer, maybe. But as I got closer and slowed down, I realized it was a bird. A large bird. I stopped the truck and got out, my boots crunching on gravel. The morning air was cold, sharp in my lungs. And there, sprawled on the yellow line, was a red-tailed hawk. Its wings were spread at wrong angles. Its head was turned to the side. Blood matted the feathers on its left wing. It wasn't moving. I approached slowly. Hawks are predators. Even injured, they're dangerous. Those talons can tear through leather gloves like paper. But this one didn't react as I got closer. Its eye, a fierce golden yellow, tracked me but showed no fight. Just pain. And something else. Something that looked almost like resignation. I knelt down carefully, keeping my distance. "Hey there," I said softly. "What happened to you?" The hawk blinked slowly. Its chest rose and fell in shallow, labored breaths. It had been hit by a car. Probably sometime during the night. And it had been lying here for hours, waiting to die. I should have called wildlife rescue. That's protocol. Injured raptors need specialized care, facilities I didn't have. But the nearest rehab center was 3 hours away. This hawk wouldn't survive the wait. I could see that. Its breathing was too shallow. Its body temperature was dropping. It would be dead within the hour. So I made a decision that broke about 5 different regulations. I went back to my truck, grabbed a heavy blanket from the back, and returned to the hawk. "Easy," I whispered. "I'm going to help you. Or try to." Moving fast, I threw the blanket over the bird, wrapped it gently but firmly, and lifted it. The hawk struggled weakly, its talons flexing, but it didn't have the strength to fight. I carried it to my truck, placed it in a plastic storage bin I'd lined with towels, and secured the lid with air holes I'd punched. Then I turned the truck around and drove back to my cabin. Fast. The research site could wait. This couldn't. My cabin is small, isolated, exactly what I wanted when I took this job. It's where I go to escape people, paperwork, everything. It's just me, the forest, and silence. I cleared my kitchen table, set up a heat lamp I use for reptile observation, and carefully unwrapped the hawk. Up close, under better light, I could see the full extent of its injuries. Left wing broken. Lacerations across the chest. Possible internal damage. It should have been dead. But it wasn't. Those golden eyes stared at me with an intensity that made my hands shake. I'm not a vet. But I've done field medicine before. You learn to improvise when you're alone in the wilderness. I cleaned the wounds with antiseptic. Splinted the wing as gently as I could using gauze and lightweight rods. Gave it water through a dropper. The hawk didn't fight me. It just watched. Like it understood I was trying to help. Or maybe it was too weak to care. When I finished, I moved it to a large dog crate I'd modified into a recovery space. Soft bedding. Low light. Quiet. Then I sat on the floor and watched it for hours, waiting to see if it would make it through the night. It did. Barely. The next morning, the hawk was still alive. Still breathing. I gave it more water, tried to feed it small pieces of raw chicken I had in the freezer. It refused at first, then took a few bites. A good sign. Over the next 3 days, I called in sick to work and became a full-time hawk nurse. I changed its bedding, monitored its temperature, adjusted the splint. And slowly, impossibly, it started to improve. The breathing steadied. The eyes grew brighter. By day 4, it was standing on its own. By day 7, it was eating full meals. And by day 10, it was looking at me like it was ready to leave. I knew I couldn't keep it. Wild animals aren't pets. This hawk belonged in the sky, not in my cabin. So on the morning of day 11, I carried the crate outside. The sun was just rising, painting the forest in gold and amber. I opened the crate door and stepped back. The hawk hopped to the edge, tested its wings carefully, then looked at me one last time. Those golden eyes held mine for a long moment. Then it launched. The takeoff was clumsy, the injured wings still weak, but it flew. Not far. Just to a nearby tree, where it perched and watched me. I stood there in my pajamas and boots, coffee in hand, and smiled. "You're going to be okay," I said. "Fly safe." I went inside, showered, got ready for work. When I came back out an hour later, the hawk was gone. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that it had survived. Sadness that it was over. I told myself that was the end of it. A good deed done. A life saved. Move on. Except it wasn't the end. Not even close. The next morning, I was woken by a sound. A sharp, distinctive cry. A hawk's cry. I stumbled out of bed, groggy, and looked out the window. There, perched on my porch railing, was the hawk. The same one. I knew it was the same because I'd marked the splint with a small notch before removing it. And I could still see the faint pattern where the feathers had been damaged. It was definitely my hawk. And it was holding something in its talons. I opened the door slowly. The hawk didn't fly away. It just watched me, made that sharp cry again, and dropped what it was holding. Then it took off, circling once over my cabin before disappearing into the trees. I walked to the edge of the porch and looked down. On the wooden planks, still warm, was a freshly killed rabbit. A young one. Clean kill. The hawk had brought me food. I stood there, staring, my mind racing. This didn't make sense. Hawks don't do this. Raptors are solitary. They don't form bonds with humans. They don't bring gifts. It had to be coincidence. The hawk had made a kill nearby, dropped it by accident. That was the only logical explanation. Except the hawk had looked at me. Had cried out like it was trying to get my attention. Had dropped it deliberately. I picked up the rabbit, feeling strange. Moved. Confused. I buried it respectfully in the forest, thanked the hawk wherever it was, and went about my day. Told myself it was a one-time thing. But the next morning, it happened again. Same sound. Same hawk. This time it brought a snake. Then the next day, a squirrel. Then a fish from the nearby creek. Every single morning for a week, the hawk returned at dawn with something in its talons. And every single time, it would cry out, wait for me to see, drop the offering, and fly away. I stopped trying to rationalize it. Stopped telling myself it was coincidence. The hawk was bringing me food. The way a parent bird feeds its young. The way a mate provides for its partner. It was repaying me. Or thanking me. Or, in its own way, taking care of me the only way it knew how. I started keeping the offerings. Not to eat them, but to document them. I photographed each one, cataloged the species, noted the time and condition. My scientific brain needed the data. But my heart already knew what was happening. I had saved this hawk's life. And it was trying to save mine in return. After 2 weeks, the visit stopped. I told myself that was okay. The hawk had recovered fully. It had repaid whatever debt it felt it owed. It was time to move on. But I missed it. Missed that sharp cry in the morning. Missed seeing those golden eyes watching me. I felt ridiculous. Feeling attached to a wild bird. But I couldn't help it. That hawk had changed something in me. Made me believe in connections I'd never thought possible. 3 weeks passed. Then a month. I went back to work, back to my research, back to my solitary routine. And then, on a cold morning in late October, I heard the cry again. I dropped my coffee mug and ran outside. There, perched on the railing, was the hawk. But it wasn't alone. Beside it, smaller and lighter in color, was another hawk. A mate. The original hawk cried out, a sound that almost seemed like greeting. Like introduction. Then both hawks took off together, circling high above my cabin, their cries echoing through the forest. They circled 3 times, then flew away together. And I never saw them again. But every autumn now, when the red-tailed hawks migrate through Montana, I see pairs flying overhead. And I wonder if one of them is mine. If it remembers the human who splinted its wing and gave it water. If it tells its mate the story of the strange creature who saved its life. I don't know if hawks have memory like that. If they feel gratitude or connection. Science says probably not. But my experience says otherwise. I kept all the photographs. All the documentation. I never published it. Never told my colleagues. It wasn't about data. It wasn't about research. It was about something more fundamental. About the moment when 2 different species, 2 different worlds, connected in a way that shouldn't be possible but was. About a hawk that learned to trust. And a scientist who learned to believe in things she couldn't measure. If you've ever saved something fragile and had it save you back, you know how I felt. If you've ever been chosen by something wild, something that didn't have to come back but did, you understand. Comment your city below and tell me, have you ever had an animal thank you? Subscribe for more true stories about the unexpected bonds between humans and the wild. Because sometimes, the creatures we save remember us. And sometimes, in ways we never expect, they come back to say thank you.